with Councilman Henry.
Homer, City Council Member.
Dr. Joseph Ford, City Council Member.
Shelby Carcelari, City Council Member.
Ronnie Price, Mayor.
Troy Tabor, City Council Member.
Tim Berry, City Council Member.
Tom Gresham, Police Department.
Donna Davis, Chief Financial Officer.
Lance Onstadt, Assistant City Administrator.
Chad Russell, Fire Chief.
Rick Landers, Director of Public Works and Utilities.
Andrew Kovar in for JT Klaus, City Attorney.
Les Mangus, Director of Community Development.
Susan Renner, City Clerk.
Jennifer McCausland, City Administrator.
All right. At this time, Pastor Rick Sexton with Epic Church will lead us in invocation. How are you, sir?
It was Rick. Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, thank you. Thank you for your continued goodness and grace that you show us each new day. Thank you for the privilege of living in this great country and in this city. And we ask you to be at this meeting, grant guidance and wisdom to all those who have responsibility and authority. And we pray that you'd be with our police and fire department as they go about their duties, that you would keep them safe when they have to be in harm's way. We thank you for your many blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. At this time, I'll open the floor to public forum. If you have something you'd like to say, please state your name, your address, and keep it short. No takers? All right. Scott? Public forum is closed. Acceptance of agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to accept the agenda as presented.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Citizens, man, gonna start out like this. Citizens request, 7-1 food truck vendor request and Andover Municipal Golf Course, and Steve Stoffergen is gonna speak to us about that. How about I butcher it?
That's good. That's good. It's not Ronnie Price, but it's good. My name's Steve Stoffregen. I'm a private citizen and requested for the acceptance of 2 dates to have a food truck come to the Andover Municipal Golf Course, and working with the Oaks, kind of coordinate with them. In addition to the other times that they have tournaments this year, to bring some more foot traffic and food traffic. I'd like to have the first tournament I have planned, or trying to work with another member of the community in Hayesville at Glenview Bible Baptist Church and St. Vincent de Paul. It's called an Ecumenical Golf Tournament, and we're probably going to open up to more churches, but any of the funds raised is going to go towards mission work in the community and also abroad. And that food truck request would be from the afternoon for that opening for that date. So I'd like the council to consider that date for that tournament. And then on, it's on May 21st, I'm sorry. And then September 3rd, I'd like to open up just to the Green Valley residents as a kind of a fundraiser for the relief fund that we've already established towards the Salvation Army, and also have a food truck for that day, which is September 3rd in the afternoon. So I'm requesting that you approve those items.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
move to approve the vending of food trucks at Andover Municipal Golf Course on Sunday, May 21st from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. and on Sunday, September 3rd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. There you go.
Thank you,
Steve.
I appreciate it.
All right, 7-2 Andover Disc Golf Course, April 8th, Tournament, and Daniel Shabaugh is going to talk to us about that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a quick adjustment. You might remember at a previous meeting, you approved food vending for the March 11th disc golf tournament. Chris Dendurant, along with his feedback from folks coming to that or planning on that date, had suggested to move the tournament shortly after you approved it. So this is the same event, different day, April 8th, and would like to be able to vend there midday between the morning rounds and the afternoon rounds. And I'd be happy to ask or answer any questions if you have.
Mr. Mayor,
Question? Go ahead.
so do we need to like repeal the other one?
No.
I think that day is passed.
It's already over, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry, March 11th. My bad. Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the sale of goods and services, including food trucks to vend at the Andover Central Park Disc Golf Course on April 8th, 2023.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. 7-3 vending request, movies in the park, and Daniel will continue with us.
For part of the activities guide selection for 2023, we're doing movies in the park again. You've probably been to a few of those in the past few years. We have 4 dates selected: June 25, July 30, August 27, and October 22. They're already on our calendar. We would like to add a little bit to these events and open the door for possible food vendors to partner with us on those evenings, and they would be stationed in the vendor lot there just north of the amphitheater. Applications have gone out for those. We do not have anybody lined up at this time, but we'd like to get your approvals ahead of time.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the sale of goods and services, including food trucks to vend in Central Park during the Movies in the Park series on June 25th, July 30th, August 27th, and October 22nd.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
since we're having a lot of these types of very similar votes on food vending, I wonder if it might be worth thinking about a policy that just allows someone on staff to approve it without having to come to us. And maybe within the policy, there's some kind of like, okay, you can only have 10 trucks total or whatever the number is. If it goes beyond that, then we'll want to look at it. But Jennifer, what do you think about that kind of a?
We can certainly look into that. Absolutely, and bring something back to you
Okay.
for your
Sorry.
consideration. Yeah, we can absolutely look
Okay.
into that and bring you back
Okay.
something that would meet everybody's, threshold.
Thank you.
You have a number, think about a number of minded food trucks that is the maximum force, Daniel? As far as real estate and what have you, room for them. So not right now, but give it some thought.
Sure. A lot of times it would be our crowd size would probably dictate how many we would want out there. Obviously, if we have 200 people, we don't want 10 trucks. They would
Right,
probably not
right.
choose to come back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Troy, for that suggestion.
Sure.
That's a great suggestion.
All right. Anyone else?
Good job, Troy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's why you're here. I'm the special person
All
today.
all in favor? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Read it all.
A little bit.
Consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move to approve consent agenda items 8.1 through 8.4 as presented.
Second.
I'd like to make a statement on this. On 8.4 is Lakeview Heights right-of-way dedication. The citizens at large are paying for 55%, I think, of this road improvement. And in doing so, the citizens at large, and I want to remind everybody that everybody on this governing body is also a tax-paying citizen of Andover. So in doing so, we have to buy a part of a right-of-way to make their roads better and pay 55%. And I find it quite disturbing as a taxpayer that not only are we going to pay for 55% of their roads, but we also have to purchase property from them to do the best that we can do as a city to improve their roads. So I just want to point it out, and that's all I really have to say about it. So anyone else have any questions or statements, feel free to make them now. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Public hearing, Lance Onstadt,
Mr. Mayor,
1485, 1485 South Andover Road.
Mr. Mayor, Council. So before we get to the public hearing portion of this item, I want to give you guys a brief staff report on it. So as you're aware, the structure at this property suffered significant damage during the April 2022 tornado. Since that time, staff has continuously monitored the site for progress on making that site safe and secure. Seeing no progress, you'll remember at the January 31st meeting, your building official presented or filed a report with you all relaying his determination that the site was unsafe and unsecure. In response, at that January 31st meeting of this year, the governing body adopted a resolution setting tonight for a public hearing for that particular property. That resolution was notified, it was published on our website, sent to those with interest in the property, inviting them to this public hearing to make a case why that property should not be considered unsafe and unsecure, and why that property, if determined so, should not be demolished or repaired. So I do want to relay that since that time, between January 31st and tonight, there has been significant work at the property. The primary structure that was there has been demolished, including the basement foundation removed and that hole where the foundation was filled. There is still some debris to be cleared from the property in order for it to meet that definition of safe and secure. The staff is still recommending we have that public hearing. So following that public hearing, the resolution for your consideration tonight states that the property owner will have 30 days from the date of adoption of that resolution from tonight to clear that property of the remaining work, which again is just clearing of that debris. If that property is not cleared, then this gives the city the authority to complete the work itself. So I can answer any questions about the case or about the process. Once you're done with me, I would then just ask that you open the public hearing.
Anyone?
I guess I do have a question. So if prior to us getting to this point, a homeowner had cleared everything, filled the hole, done that part of it, would we have had this same resolution that we were voting on?
No,
today?
we would have just provided a report that the property was safe and secure.
Say that one more time.
We would have just provided you all with a report tonight that the property was safe and secure,
Okay.
thus no consideration of the resolution required.
So if that's the case, I guess I'm curious why we would go forward with this, require them to move stuff if they're already where they would have been and we wouldn't have had this meeting at all.
I might not be fully under, there's still, if the property, so there's still work that remains at the site, thus our recommendation of the public hearing. So your question that if there was no work remaining at all,
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I guess my real question, I didn't say it right, would have been if 3 months ago they were at the point in their property where they're at today, would we be having the same resolution that we see in front of us today?
no, it would have been a different violation.
Which would have just been junk on the property, potentially
Correct.
dangerous. I see. Okay.
Do we hold
Cal-
any of the, go ahead, Jennifer.
I was just going to clarify, there's so many requirements with notifications and clocks that get set as you go through this process that it seemed to staff, because we're not all the way across the finish line, instead of starting any of that process again with a new violation, it seemed most appropriate to move forward with the process we're very entrenched in at this point,
Fully agree with that.
just
yeah.
to get this last bit cleaned up.
Yeah, I just, for some reason in my mind, I thought they were good enough that we didn't have to do anything at all, but that's not true.
Right.
Really, we still would have had to done something, so.
And it is largely mitigated, so I would say the cost to cure at this point is much less than what it was when you first heard this in January.
So there are no funds being held still? We never got-
There were no
Oh, I'm
insurance
sorry.
proceeds received on
Okay,
this item.
okay, I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Okay.
go for it.
So has communication then been fixed with said resident?
Oh,
I believe, again, we'll get to a public hearing in a second where everyone can kind of, speak at their will, but it has been relayed to administrative staff that communication is there between our building official, the property owner, and potentially the insurance company.
Okay, thank you.
Public hearing.
yes, can we do?
I would open a public hearing if you'd like to hear from the
I would.
public.
I'd very much like to do that. So we're going to open a public hearing, and anyone like to speak on the matter, feel free to do so.
Do they need to state their name and address or anything?
Yeah, what's your name? hon? We know her address, right?
I'm Tina Parsons. I'm the owner of the land. And we have done what they requested to tell me in the beginning, from what Chip had told me, that the house had to be done and down. He told me that the other buildings were safe to be there. We intend to take out 2 of them with weather permits on down. And I work 12 hours a day and 10 hours a day. So the weekends is the only time I've been able to work on this. And my husband's totally disabled. I got a disabled granddaughter. And part of the stuff that is there came from the tornado from other areas. It got privacy fence and a bush pile that I don't even have privacy fence. We had chain links. And I was needing help with the trees and the bushes and stuff to clean it up. And that's what I got some people to help me. But I need permission to be able to take it to the city landfill. If I can use a commercial truck to move it there. I have somebody that will let me move it there. Help me. Because I've got trunks on there that are taller than I am and almost as wide as I am tall, that came out of 6 of them anyway.
So
And
you
they
have-
moved some of them when the tornado came, but they never removed them from the property.
So you
Other
have,
people, they helped take them out, and mine kind of got shoved. Everybody was bringing stuff to mine because I was the biggest yard.
so you have debris as well as shrubs?
Right.
Uh,
I've got some privacy fence there. We got trunks and limbs and trees. But I got somebody to help me to move them if I can have permission to use the city.
I can
Went
get,
down there and looked at the situation, and it's pretty muddy when it's wet, and it had water standing the day that we were down there looking at it to see if we could get in there to even do it, even before I waste your time to ask permission.
we don't have an actual landfill, city-owned landfill, so we can't take miscellaneous debris items. We can only
Okay.
take brush at our brush site.
Okay,
So if
we can
you,
keep sorting it and then go that
yeah,
way.
it would have to be sorted out because
Okay.
our permit from the state does not allow us to have anything but brush. You can't have any kind of wood that's like fence post or fence or any of that kind of stuff either. It's got to be strictly
Mhm.
brush from trees and so forth.
Do we have, Lance, do we have an actual list of everything this lovely lady needs to fix? Has Chip been out there today?
Chip was out there middle last week. I was on site around lunchtime today. Do we have an itemized list? No. Do we have a general directive to clear debris and brush? Yes. But we can definitely have the building official, have Chip continue working with the property owner on specifically lining those things out and working with our director of public works and utilities on some of the brush as well. So we'll continue that relationship. That's just kind of sets the clock.
I mean, basically, we've got about everything moved out except for just little things that in between that we had to salvage out of the house before they tore it down and make a bigger mess. So we are removing that from the property. But I've got a picture of it. We filled it all in yesterday completely. And then we didn't like how low it was still setting, so we brought in 9 more loads today of dirt to bring it in. It's over 64 loads of dirt. So that hole was pretty good size. That house has been there a long time. I've been there 43 years. It was just heart aching the first time I seen the dump truck come in to take it, and the first pile with the backhoe.
I'm assuming that the city has contact information for you, phone number, address. and
Yes.
stuff like that.
Yes, they do. And I had called Chip, but Chip didn't return my call.
Okay.
Do you think that you'd be able to, I think 30 days is so 4 weeks-ish?
Depending on the weather. I mean, that's a lot of it. And
Well, let's
basically-
assume it's not windy and there's no rain or anything.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is Kansas.
Yeah,
you
I
guys.
mean, it'd be nice if I could have 60 days because that would get it in a little bit warmer because Sunday's only going to be 18 degrees, they said. So it's not going to be very pleasant trying to be out there to do anything.
Councilmember Tabor, also to elaborate on that. So the way the resolution is drafted is it's 30 days to complete the work or to diligently progress, show progress. So it doesn't mean in 30 days, the city's going to show up with contractors and complete it ourselves. As long as we continue the open conversation and communication and collaboration with the homeowner, we're more than, I mean, that's our intent is to work with the property owner. We'll continue to do that.
Okay, that's good.
So basically all I have to remove then is the debris and the tree. So we were working on it. If you look, it's all bunched up there. We've been working like crazy.
Okay.
I know I drove by there yesterday and I saw them hauling the basement foundation out, so.
Yeah, we've had some issues with the machinery and it broke down a couple of times this last week. I'm about to have a heart attack. Cause I thought, oh, like everything else, hurry up and wait for parts. But it worked out on our favor. We'll continue making it better.
All right.
Thank you.
Ms.
Thank you.
Parsons, it's a pleasure meeting you. And we're citizens too, so everything will work out, okay?
Okay. Because I looked down Harry Street and seen them other houses and they're a lot worse than my house ever was.
Yeah. Thank you for speaking. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
move to adopt a resolution requiring the repair, demolition. of-
Troy, you have to close the hearing,
Oh, I'm sorry.
if I remember correctly.
Man, you can throw stuff at me if you want.
At this time, we'll close the public hearing and move on.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
move to adopt a resolution requiring the repair, demolition of the structures and removal of objects located at 1485 South Andover Road, Andover, Kansas.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Tina, thank you for being here. Bonds. Jennifer McCloskey will speak to us. 10-1 Charter Ordinance Number 26, exempting from KSA 13-1024A.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'm going to actually talk to you about all 5 of these items at once and kind of explain why they're all on here together under the heading bonds. And then bond counsel is represented tonight by Andrew Kovar of TWG. So if you have any legal questions related to any of this, then certainly he's available to answer those questions. But I think it might be easier if I kind of take this at one time or at least try to set the framework. We've been working diligently with our financial advisor and bond counsel on how to cash flow the Family Future Forward projects as well as many other capital projects that we've committed to through accepting some federal base grants and other awards through WAMPO and other processes. Before you tonight, the first 2 items, 10.1 and 10.2, relate to the parks of Family Future Forward, and 10.3 and 10.4 relate to the fire station and the fire station remodel of Family Future Forward. 10.5 is necessary for the expansion of Yorktown Parkway from Central to, we've got Commerce Street on here because as you'll recall, we have a petition from the community college to finish Yorktown from Commerce to 13th Street for that next phase of Yorktown. If I don't botch this, but Andrew will help me if I do. So in order to use GO bonds, which is the preferred mechanism for us to finance these projects as a least expensive and most expedient way for us to go through a bond financing project, we need to do a couple of things. In order to do parks, you need to charter ordinance out of KSA 131024A to allow us to use GO bonds for park improvements. 10.2 allows us that today we're drawing the line in the sand and we can reimburse ourselves for any expenditures that we do between now and the public hearing process and the protest petition period that's necessary for a charter ordinance. But that way, once we do issue those bonds later this summer, we can reimburse any purchases that we may make starting this week for the parks. Most of that will begin in May because you'll recall we're going to play baseball and softball there yet still this year, and then send all the kids to other communities to play the second half of the season so we can get to work on 13th Street Sports Park. The items for 10.3 and 10.4 are very similar when we do work authorization ordinances for subdivisions or other projects. You'll always remember that we authorize the projects in order to finance them. That's what we're doing here for the 2 fire station projects. And then you may recall that we made Yorktown a, what do we call it? Main traffic thoroughfare, I believe. Main traffic way. That's so that you can use GO bonds to finance a street improvement. And so we need to actually declare that as such in statute requires us to do that. That's my best attempt at explaining this, but I'm going to let Andrew clean up whatever mess I made.
Those were very good explanations of all those items. If you have any questions about them, I'm happy to elaborate or answer.
Anyone?
Sure, I'll take a stab at a question. Why are they not already this way if this is the best? Like, why are they not, why don't we already have these ordinances in place for these items?
So at least 10.3 and 10.4 are very project specific. So, I mean, we need to do this in order to use the financing. I guess I will answer that by saying we will have sales tax money to pay for these things. It's really a cash flow problem. So we're going to need to finance them and then pay them back over the 8 years in which we collect that sales tax. So we were hopeful that maybe we'd be able to cash flow this without financing, but that's just not going to be possible. We've got a big bulk of construction this year and more next year. And then we have 8 years in which to receive the funds. So it's a cash flow problem.
Thank you, Jay.
To answer your specific question about the parks then, which is actually the only thing we could have potentially had in place beforehand because it's not so project specific. The city has over the number of past years used different financing mechanisms for park improvements. Most notably, the Central Park used a public building commission, and there are a number of reasons that it has been determined that's probably not the best going forward, especially if we want to use GO bonds as opposed to PBC bonds. So that's why we're doing the charter ordinance so we can do park improvements from now on with GO bonds.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question. Hey,
Yes, sir.
how much is this going to cost us when it comes to either credit or either our debt limits or, you know, anytime you take out a loan or any type of bond, you have to pay? I mean, how much is this going to cost us? Do we know? Or
So obviously, the city works with its financial advisor, and on every one of these individual bond issues, there will be a point at which we go to public sale, just like you would do for a special assessment bond, right? And at that point, the actual interest rates will be set. So we won't know the dollar interest cost of the city on any one of these until we get to that point in the process. You're right. These will make sure before I make a blanket statement, I believe all of these projects, if we use GO bonds, would count against the city's debt limit, but our financial advisor is well aware of that and has been calculating it to be sure we don't have any issues there. And then, of course, the analysis of the city's credit, again, the financial advisor is worked through that pretty thoroughly and believes it shouldn't be an issue, but I won't speak on his behalf, but they absolutely are analyzing that for us.
And I will add to that, Dustin is, in March, you may recall that your workshop is going to be utilized to meet with the Planning Commission to go over the comp plan. So that meeting's been set aside for some time. So therefore, in April, Dustin Navy will be present at your workshop to walk through all of this, because it's complicated stuff when you're looking at year to year to year and trying to figure out debt limit and all of the different parts and pieces. Some of these have time periods that were sensitive, which is why we're bringing them to you tonight, but we will certainly have time during your workshop in April to walk through all of the financial implications before you actually issue any debt for any of these projects.
And then, Mr. Mayor, another question.
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming, is the sales tax going to pay back what we're being charged in fees? Because Dustin gets a fee, our bond counsel gets a fee. So all these people are making money off of this. Is the sales tax going to pay for that?
Yes, that is included in the cash flow analysis, is the cost of issuance.
And then are we speaking a bond for 8 years, or I guess that's my question. What's the term of this?
Yes, they will be short-term bonds, and we will make them callable so that we can pay them as that sales tax revenue is received.
So Jennifer, is this going to change the city's rating at all? Are we getting in that 8-year period? Are we reducing our rating as a city or purchase power, I guess?
You may be. It'll depend when we get on a rating call. It's a lot of debt to be carrying for a community our size that we've committed to through multiple different actions. So it's possible, but there's so many variables when it comes to those rating calls. We do a rating call with the S&P each time we do a bond sale. So it could depend what's happening with the bond or with banks generally. If we're having failures of banks in the nation, it may not be a great time to be going to a bond sale. If the economy is doing better, we might find ourselves in a favorable conditions. I think everyone here will recall several interest rates in the 1 point something range, which is incredible for a financing rate. I think those are days in the past for right now. So I think that we could count on something at least north of 2, but those are the things that Dustin has a pulse on and can give you much better information in April. And then as we get closer to the actual bond issue.
Mr. Mayor?
I'd also like to add that on the S&P calls, what is in our favor is the fact that we do have a revenue stream that we can show is going to be paying for these bonds. It's not on the backs of property tax, that we have a revenue stream that's dedicated towards this. And that always is looked at favorably when we do those calls.
I guess that's my next question. What if the state Senate bill goes through? Is that that's going to hurt and make this debt go out farther?
I had conversation earlier today with Councilman Tabor on that very topic. Certainly, we're keenly aware of the legislation that's being proposed at the state right now. Assistant City Administrator Lance and your mayor went to Topeka yesterday to testify in person. We provided written testimony on Friday. A good chunk of our sales tax local revenue comes from groceries. So that would have a detrimental effect. Once we have issued the bonds, we are committed to paying them back. And so that would go one of two ways. You have a slight help with the Family Future Forward in that the community center is a future project. We knew we wanted to get through phase 1, phase 2, and the fire stations before we took on the community center. It would be foolhardy to not say it's at risk, depending on where revenues are, because we didn't anticipate working on that until 2026, 2027. So you've got that project that you could forego, that you could downsize if you needed to utilize some of the revenue to pay off the debt for phases 1, 2, or the fire stations. In addition, we got positive feedback yesterday that it seemed like the House Taxation Committee was not eager to approve the bill as presented, that they seemed sympathetic to the multiple cities and counties present that said this would have a devastating impact. I believe Lance may have relayed that we estimate it would be an 8 mil increase if we were to replace that revenue from grocery sales tax with property taxes. And I believe, Lance, correct me if I'm wrong, Ottawa was in the 20s with the amount of mills they said they would have to increase if they were to replace their groceries sales tax. So I think that testimony was heard, but obviously it's a little bit out of our hands at this point.
I will say, and I want to tell you that Lance did an extraordinary job of laying out the case. In fact, I would go as far to say that he laid out a better case than anybody there. And there wasn't any proponents of the local sales tax, period. Even the people that were proponents of the sales tax were not proponents of the local sales tax. And so, and they've got another SB 309, which is theoretically a stopgap that if they do pass it, and again, I feel that they won't, but if they do, if we say we lost $1.6 million, we can put in for money to recover it. But I think it's a Band-Aid, not a solution. But just a feeling in the room, I didn't feel like it would get through the committee, but yes, it'll have one little town said, we'll lose our fire department and our police department, and Ottawa was very adamant about their thing. So it will have an impact on smaller cities much more than ours, but we'll still have big issues, but hopefully common sense will prevail, and so will mathematics, right? So,
Mr. Mayor. So kind of a parter question, if you will, 3-parter, maybe 2-parter. Has the city ever had any issues with issuing bonds before, and the fact that we couldn't cover? Was that remedied? And then do we have a fix in place to stop that problem if it did occur before?
Back in the early 2000s, because I started in 98, so it was probably 99, 2000. We were to the point where we were only getting 1 or 2 bids. So there were measures put in place to prevent that. And after that, we've seen multiple bids, 4, 5, 6 bids. So I think that the borrowers out there know that Andover's bonds are good bonds. The fact that we still get good ratings from S&P, I don't feel that, yes, this gets us closer to the debt limit. It doesn't take us above the debt limit. But, the school district has the same issue with their bonds. It's just a short-term problem that we're having right now because we've got so much going on at one time.
And the only other thing I would add is the measures that go into place are to put our foot on the brake. And that means to slow down subdivision financing, to slow down all the capital projects. I mean, that is the fix. If we get to a point where we need to put policies back in place to do that. There used to be a wait list for a new development to come into the community in order to be able to utilize special assessments. And we haven't been doing that for 5 years. 10 times funny like that. So that's essentially what we would do should we have to slow down.
And then like the parks, the fire station, we just have to wait until we collect all the sales tax and just pay for it at the end.
Well, you're pretty committed with the contracts
are
you've
now-
signed.
yeah, now.
So no, we're gonna
We're
have
committed now, but I mean, that would be.
like
one-
moving forward, a new capital project. If you had a new facility, you would need to raise the money first before you could pay for it. Yes.
Thanks, guys.
And that's very much what Lance laid out to to those folks as well as other folks did too, that we've already have commitments that there's no unringing that bell. And so I felt very good about all the comments that were made in that regards, and people just let them know it's detrimental to every city in this state, so. All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I move to approve a charter ordinance exempting the city of Andover, Kansas from the provisions of KSA 13-1024A relating to the payment of costs for general improvements in the city and providing substitute and additional provisions of the same subject.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed,
Sorry.
nay. Motion carries 5-0. We do each one, right?
Mr. Mayor,
10-2 reimbursement solution.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I move to approve a resolution declaring the city of Andover, Kansas official intent to issue certain tax exempt obligations to finance park improvements and further authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute and deliver such documents as are necessary in connection with such declaration.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. 10-3 ordinance authorizing ordinance new fire station.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I move to adopt an ordinance authorizing the city of Andover, Kansas to make public building improvements, authorizing the city to issue general obligation bonds in an amount of approximately $8 million to pay the costs of such improvements, and authorizing the offering of an issue of general obligation bonds for such purposes.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. 10-4 authorizing ordinance remodeling of existing fire station.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Move to adopt an ordinance authorizing the city of Andover, Kansas to make public improvements, authorizing the city to issue general obligation bonds in an amount of approximately $3 million to pay the costs of such improvements, and authorizing the offering of an issue of general obligation bonds for such purposes.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. 10-5 Main Traffic Way Ordinance Yorktown Parkway from East Kellogg Drive north to Commerce Street.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I move to approve an ordinance designating Yorktown Parkway from East Kellogg Drive north to Commerce Street as a main traffic way or traffic way connection within the corporate limits of city of Andover, Kansas, and authorize the city to make main traffic way improvements, and authorize the city to issue general obligation bonds in an approximate principal amount of $6,500,000 to pay the costs of the main traffic way improvements as necessary.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. 11 CMB license, ADV Forest, 420 South Andover Road. Rick, and Susan's going to talk to us about this.
I just wanted to let you know that the reason the owner is not here, the owner is the chef. His wife is the waitress. They're the only two that work there at this point. So he could not be here to answer any questions. I explained to him that usually someone should be in attendance. And if you so desire not to approve it this evening and have some major questions or not major questions, that I would bring the questions back to him and have them presented to you at the next council meeting. So it's whatever you desire.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the issuance of a cereal malt beverage license for ADV Forest, 420 South Andover Road.
Second.
Shelby? It was a tie.
Yeah, it was a tie.
I defer.
All in favor, say aye.
Hey, I do have a question.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't, one time I didn't ask.
Have they passed, the alcohol, have they passed all that stuff through the state and?
The city approves cereal malt beverage licenses, so
okay.
it's already been to the fire department, it's been to the police department, so they've met all the regulations that the city
There's the
requires.
state one that
That's
does
right, yeah.
liquor.
A state
Yeah,
license
this
for
is just for
liquor,
malt liquor, okay.
we don't
Yep,
even bring to.
sorry.
This is
Yeah.
just for beer.
This
right?
is for beer.
This is only for enhanced cereal malt beverage licenses. So that's for the 6 Point beer, and then they can also serve wine coolers.
Bartles and James.
I apologize.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. All right. The Heritage Landscape and Streetscape Project, 12-1 bid award, and Les is going to speak to us about this.
For your consideration tonight is the negotiated bid with Key Construction for the streetscape, landscaping, hardscaping, lighting, brick sidewalks, so forth on the right of ways of the streets in the heritage. You'll remember we separated this work off from the road project to allow us to work with the contractor to do some value engineering to get the right products at the right prices to keep us within our budget on this project. It's been a long haul. We've put a lot of work into it, but we're happy with this bid and we're on track with the budget for the work.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
do you think there's any way to put the landscape plan on the screen, or is the computer not? It's just, I think it'd be great for residents to exactly see the plan.
The site master plan I provided is just an overview of that work. Street trees, brick sidewalks, raised crossings,
Okay.
street lighting with aesthetic poles rather than.
So this
the-
doesn't really do it justice,
No.
like all the extra stuff that you're, yeah, okay.
No, there are
Okay. Well,
many
never mind.
pages of details.
This looks great too, so I was like, okay, but all right.
But
But
they
is
can, so they can go to andoverks.com and look at it, right? No,
It's a slow yes.
forget I asked.
That's funny.
We don't have anything from the workshop or whatever that is public from,
From the workshop, that was the plaza that you all saw
Oh.
there. This is more of the work that's out on the street side, not within the plaza and the park.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I move to accept the bid from Key Construction, Wichita, Kansas, in the amount of $4,058,204 and authorize the mayor to sign the contract for the Heritage Mixed Use First Edition Streetscape Project.
Any further questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. I can assure you that the Heritage is going to be putting stuff out soon to show what's they got going on, so.
Nice.
All right, 13-1, a client privilege. Turn it. Attorney-client privilege, KSA 75-431, one more time. KSA 75-4319B2.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Move to recess into executive session for consultation with the city attorney pursuant to KSA 75-4319B2, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship. The session to include the governing body, city attorney, and city administrator. The open meeting will resume at 8:00.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
I move to come out of executive session.
Lance, you all right over there? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I move to recess
Hey,
into,
Oh.
sorry, my bad. No, you read it first. I forgot.
Yeah, there you go. That's how it works. It's crazy. 13-2, land acquisition KSA 754319B6.
Mr. Mayor, I move to recess into executive session for discussions relating to the acquisition of real property per KSA 75-4319B6. Section to include governing bodies, city attorney, city administrator, director of community development, and assistant city administrator, and resume in open session at 8:23.
58 seconds.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
I moved to
Yes.
come out of executive session.
Any further discussion?
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I move to authorize the Director of Community Development to Auto Buildings Incorporated the just compensation to purchase property for the street right-of-way for parcel R23692 for the West Founders Parkway Improvement Project.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Member items, and we'll start, Tim, you want to start?
Hang on one second.
One more motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Could we do member items and come back?
Okay, Tim, go ahead.
So I don't have a whole lot. I just want to congratulate the Andover Trojans basketball team for winning state. They may not be my choice of high school, but they did win. That's awesome for the city of Andover. Andover has a lot of great things going right now in the high school and in both schools. So trying to think what else. We just got back from state bowling, I think. I can't remember if I talked about that last time or not, but
I think they were going to it. How'd they do?
they were there. They were there.
Thanks for
My son
asking,
placed
Homer.
41st out of 96. So
That's not bad.
it's not bad, So
It's like 50%, right?
if you talk to him, he did terrible. But baseball season's coming up, so I'm very excited about that. Andover Central's going to have a kick-ass baseball team. Excuse me, a kick-butt baseball team. So fire station's looking good, Chief. I just drove past it. It's looking really, really nice. You can actually kind of see the definition of it. You guys put on your Facebook page some drone shots of it. It looks really nice. So it's exciting seeing the growth that we have here. I also want to talk about the sales tax. A lot of folks who are listening or out in the audience, I'm all about saving money for taxpayers, and sales tax is a big thing. I mean, every time I go to Dillon's, it's like $40 just to get out of there, just to cook dinner.
One night.
Yeah, that's one night. So saving, an extra few percentage points on sales tax is awesome. However, we have to remember that we have things here in Andover we have to have. We want, great roads. We need, we like the roads. People always comment, Rick, on how great our roads are. As soon as you cross over to Andover city limits, how fantastic. There's no potholes in the, so we like those nice roads. We like having new fire stations. So while I will admit getting rid of a sales tax is kind of a cool idea, and it can save me money personally. However, as a taxpayer, we're gonna have to roll that into a mill for our property tax, and that kind of hits every property owner here in Andover. Not, it doesn't include everybody who comes shops at our local Dillon's or at Atwood's that purchases food. So we kind of have to remember that it is not a good thing to get rid of that sales tax for the food. Yeah, so that's all I have. I think I rambled enough.
That's it.
I also added softball season.
Softball, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Softball's coming.
My daughter made the team, so I'm
That's
excited
awesome.
to see that. Pretty cool. That's all I got.
Shall we?
Oh, no items.
Tim took my thunder on Andover Trojans, but go Trojans. Congratulations, Coach Shetler, and the Andover Trojans team. We actually came, I think, I would say close a couple of years ago, but then those games, semifinals, I believe.
It's the first time Andover's won anything state in basketball, isn't it?
Yes, but
Central's won a few.
2020, I believe we were going to play Capon for the semifinal game, and it got canceled because of COVID. So we had an undefeated year, I believe, that year. So, that was there. Anyway, yeah, like Tim said, I mentioned it when I was emceeing the gala for the Police and Fire Foundation. But you move to the city, you do things, whether it's the way Rick takes care of the roads and snow removal, it's the way Captain Gresham takes care of the garage doors being open, watching homes while residents are on vacation. To have the police come by and look at those, look at your house, I think is awesome. But at the end of the day, Tim's right. It costs money, right? And so if we're going to have those things, if we're going to want to keep it the same level of, when we all moved in and keep that same environment, you got to pay to play, and definitely sales tax helps that out. So thank you.
Scott, you want to give us an update on your neighborhood?
Coming along great.
People moving back in? Somewhat. Somewhat.
We did have some folks on, Mr. Mayor, on Lantern Lane that moved in this last weekend, I believe.
The last house is starting to, one's built, one I think moved in, and one is starting out of the ground now. They redid the basement and stuff. So I was out there Sunday. So it looks like more people are there than are, but we're getting along pretty good for what we went through. So.
And the sign for the YMCA water park is showing that it's going to be open up this summer. That's exciting.
For this summer, right? Not necessarily at the end of the summer.
Yeah,
And
for
then
the summer.
I think long-term recovery committee, if you don't mind me giving a little bit of an update for that. We're still, as far as the overlay for the GIS mapping and then who the United Way has contacted, we're still at about 60 addresses short roughly of essentially no contact. We don't know necessarily why, but we're still working on that. We sent out letters again this last week to see if we can get any more folks to come to the United Way, the 211 process. To date, I believe we're a little over $200,000 that has been given out to the survivors of the tornado, including people, employees that were at the Y. So it's big. I mean,
Prairie
I
Creek
think it's big.
Edition is looking fabulous, by the way. I
Say
went
again?
through the cul-de-sacs out there, Prairie Creek Edition. Them houses are looking really nice. So are we ready?
We're not quite ready on your
Other item?
motion, but I did have 2 items I wanted to share, so I'll go ahead and update you on those if you don't mind. We are partnering with the YMCA. The YMCA puts on an annual prayer breakfast, and so that seemed like an appropriate event to partner with to do the 1-year commemoration. So on April 29th out here in the park, we'll be doing a breakfast free to the public. Any of you who would like to help serve from 9 to 9:30, we would love to have you do that. I see Councilman Barry. If you have to check calendars, Troy, you as well? Okay, if you need to check calendars, that's fine. Let me know, but we would love, I see you, Dr. Forred.
Did you say serve or eat?
Serve, but you
Eaters.
can eat too. We're going to do pancakes and sausage. Hope Church is going to host the devotional. Nick Martineau, the head pastor out there, is going to do the devotion. They're going to bring in some pastors from different churches across Andover, and there'll be a time of prayer for all the different kind of sectors of the community as we move forward. We'll have staff from South Central Mental Health because this could be a triggering event. So we will have that available. And then United Way, to Councilman Henry's point, will be there for anyone who maybe still has yet to connect and get the help that they need. They'll be there as well. Emergency management from both Sedgwick and Butler County will be present with whistles, which are an important thing when you are trapped in a severe weather type situation. And so we hope to have a lot of people come out to that. The other item I wanted to update you on is not such quite good news. The folks with the Mile of Lights have let us know that the site here in Andover is not going to work for them. And I've not been able to communicate with you all since we got that notification back, but they did not feel like it was long enough or worked for what they were trying to do. So
Susan, can you put that on our calendar, put that on my calendar, the breakfast? Please.
Me as well. I'd like to.
So I've got 4 of you.
What was the
I've got
time of that,
you,
Jenny?
I have
let's do all.
Tim and Troy and the mayor and Joseph.
What's the hours?
It starts at 9 a.m. and then the program itself starts at 9:30, and we're expecting it to be just like an hour. We don't want to make it go too long. And then if the weather's nice, people can just enjoy the park.
I'll do it too. Combo, working and eat. And Jenny, what was the second thing? I apologize. I didn't.
The Mile of Lights folks determined that
Oh.
Central Park wasn't going to work.
Yeah, he's still thinking about breakfast.
Is it going to be sausage links or patties?
It's going to be patties because apparently the links will roll off the children's plates. We've had a long conversation about that, if you will believe it.
Chris Cakes. I don't. Did everyone? No, I don't.
Chris
Yeah.
Cakes was delicious.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
are we done with member items?
If we're ready.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I move to engage the law firm of Triplett Wolf Garrison or such other law firm to mitigate necessary eminent domain proceedings to procure parcel numbers R21896, R21878, R21880, R22199, or portions thereof for development of your Yorktown Parkway road improvements within the city of Andover, Kansas.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. One more thing, the children's home is needing groceries and canned goods, and I also inquired because I wasn't sure. They like chicken thighs in big packages that they can boil and take off the bone. They could use hamburger. I didn't know how it worked. I thought they just wanted canned goods, but they will take beef, hamburgers and chicken and pork. So I was standing walking around Dillon's trying to figure out how am I going to find all this in cans. And so, but they do have freezer space and they do need some groceries and anything we can do. The police station has a box that they'll get it where it's going. And another thing I love here in town is the bingo for the seniors, and they could use food as well, and box foods and blankets or any kind of something cute. They don't ask for a lot. So
Where does the food, the cans for the fines go, Mr. Mayor? Do you know?
food bank,
Is that
and
a food
food
bank?
bank always needs help, and that's where, thank you, bring that up.
Okay.
That's working quite well, and the ladies,
Michelle?
Emily and Michelle are very picky. If you won't eat it, don't bring it. So they
And
will.
if it's expired, don't bring it.
They will send people back to Dillon's. So, but it's working fabulously. So anything we can do to help our community, let's.
Homer, is that what you did? Did you bring like 30 cans up here? Yeah, but he got what, 2 tickets, right? So.
That's funny.
10 per
Wow.
ticket, sir. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If I may offer, I forgot to bring up that CASA, that I'm on the board
CASA.
of,
Yeah.
Court Appointed Special Advocates for Children. We are looking for 2 more board members. So if anyone in the audience or here that lives in Butler County want more information on that, please reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about what CASA does. And if you're wouldn't mind volunteering some of your time, treasure, and talent to be a board member, I'd love to help you get there. So let me know. That's all.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor? On the chicken thighs and stuff, so we just essentially take that food to the police department?
We don't have storage for frozen or fresh meat. That would need to go straight to the children's home. If you pull up to the gate, push the button and tell them what you're there for, they'll let you in and they'll have somebody that can receive it.
They will come to the garage door and gladly take it.
Okay.
So stupid question, where is the children's home, I
Hope
guess?
Community Church.
Is it
South of Hope Church,
Okay, that's what I thought, but I,
right? Well, that's the one we're talking about, right?
With a disc.
And while so that made me think of, what's the deal with the road out? The construction at Prairie Creek Road, is that us doing that, or is that?
Yes, that was part of the Prairie Creek 6th edition, is to extend Prairie Creek Road to the limits of the subdivision limits. And that is actively underway.
Right.
And we're going through some unique phasing to keep access to everyone while it's done. But when you have a gravel 2-lane road that you're widening it out a little bit and put storm sewer in, there's going to be some pains that has to happen. I would say if anyone's going to go out to the children's home out there to go ahead and come off of 21st Street to make that trip coming off of 21st Street.
Is there going to be curb and guttering on both sides of that, or what's the
Yes, curb and gutter and storm sewer.
drainage and all that neat stuff?
Mhm.
Nice. It's part of the plan, huh?
It's moving along.
I'll tell you what, Andover, man, to Tim's point, we're growing, man, and so we're doing some cool things. I'm proud of our community and the governing body. The mayor, jump ball. All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Joe seconded.
Was I the first?
No.
Okay.
No, Homer was.
I was making sure. So Homer and Joe, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
That's Baxter's big thing right now. He rented checked out those discs at the library.
Yeah.
And he's like, Dad, it's fun. You should come out with me.
So I usually go either Saturday or Sunday morning to Augusta